Hello, friends. Welcome back to GM Philosophy in the Morning. I am the GM Philosopher, and today we're talking about how to use suspense to keep players on edge. A whisper in the dark, a door that won't open, a shadow crossing the window. These are the types of moments that will haunt players, get their attention, really get them riveted, get them leaning forward, and creating this is not as difficult as you might think. Suspense is actually the slow squeeze of uncertainty, and it's one of the most powerful tools a GM can wield. And today I'm going to teach you how to use suspense to grip your players' nerves and keep them leaning in throughout the session and for your entire campaign. Now let's start with point number one. Withhold, don't reveal. This is a very simple tactic, but it's so powerful. You can use it in every single scene. Tell them less than you know. Let scenes hint instead of explaining. Hold information back. Leave gaps that they either are just going to wonder about or be forced to fill in between the lines with their own imagination. When players enter the abandoned manor, describe the echoing halls. Something's off, but don't say what exactly. Let them see the loose floorboards, hear the creak, feel the draft. Let uncertainty stay with them throughout the session, and guess what? They're going to remember that kind of tension. This is a big attention grabber, and sometimes less is more, okay? Now, let's go to point number two here. Foreshadow with symbols and clues. So you can plant breadcrumbs. You can have a broken locket that they find near a half-burned letter, and this can provide little clues about an NPC that somebody's coming back, somebody maybe malevolent, someone who wrote the letter was scared of. Right. Don't make it random trinkets, although you can roll for them on a random table. Make them ominous fingerprints, pointing to the unknown, foreshadowing something that has sort of a powerful connotation, okay? You can do this slowly, too. You can focus on one player character per session and just rotate and bring in a foreshadowing of some kind for that player character. It can be a lot to try to do this for every player in every session, but you can bring in foreshadowing for one player in each session and then just rotate it and then retouch on it and then make those things come true. These can become foreshadowing events of a plot arc you're planning. Maybe that has to do with their backstory or something like that. This builds suspense. You don't even need combat or anything immediately scary to do it. It's just a hint of something to come. Now, point number three, I've talked about recently a little bit more, and I like to use this kind of mechanism, though I like to be very selective in how I do it. It is introducing a ticking clock mechanism, okay? Time is the close ally of suspense. A ritual begins at midnight. The curse spreads at dawn. The NPC only has so many days to live now that they've contracted this magical disease, right? If the players don't act now, or don't at least decide on something now, the door will threaten to close on them. They will run out of room. Bridges may collapse, right? Opportunity may leave. Someone they care about may perish. The clock isn't about rushing them or trying to penalize them for not taking immediate action. It's about making every second matter, and making time matter to your players is actually a superpower that if you can learn to kind of harness that will make your games way more engaging, and it will make players really buy in way more. And you can do that by setting up suspense and then introducing a ticking clock mechanism for it. Do this sparingly. Do not overuse this because it can be overwhelming, and it can be one of those things that players will just stop caring about if you use it too much. But if you just dabble in it, just throw it in there a little bit once per arc, it can really take your collaborative storytelling to the next level, get your players really engaged in that role play. Now, point number four is probably my favorite point in this collection, which is make trust fragile. But before we dive into that, I just want to remind you that I have a free ebook you can download, my 10-minute GM Mastery Kit. This is basically a 10-minute read where I condense the 10 most powerful lessons I've learned in 20 years of game mastering into a 10-minute read with 10 points. Every one of these points starts with kind of the basic tip and then goes deeper. You're not going to want to miss this. Download this for free. This is my way of helping to further the mission of this channel, which is to empower game masters to run better games at their tables. So grab that. Can't go wrong. Download it and check it out. With one 10-minute read, you may really level up your next session. And that's going to take us to this, point. I want to dive into this, make trust fragile. Even allies can betray, okay? Trust is sort of like a currency, but sometimes the market goes up and sometimes the market goes down, friends. Let a helpful NPC slip hints of something darker. Like let a player character with a good perception check or a good insight check pick up on something lurking beneath the surface, behind the eyes, right? Something that maybe doesn't quite sit right, doesn't quite feel right. In some ways, the fear of distrust or the fear of betrayal is almost more powerful than the betrayal itself. In some ways, having an NPC that's slowly hatching a plot and then letting the player character pick up on it a little bit is almost more effective than having them succeed at a plot and pull it off, because it builds so much suspense. When players doubt who to trust, every conversation is going to ripple with danger. Suspicion turns friends into puzzles, and it's even worse than an enemy, because on one hand, player characters will care about that NPC if it's like a friend. On the other hand, they're going to be paranoid of being betrayed, right? And it's even better if you set up a situation where betrayal could really be destructive, like if the plans got leaked, or if this piece of magical information were to get into the wrong hands, or a weakness that group has that they don't want people to know about, right? And so you make the stakes big. I actually write about this in my latest book, my latest premium ebook, The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery. You can find the link to that down in the description, but I want to share this with you. It's about emotional resonance. Emotional resonance is not about making your players cry. It's not about pulling dramatic tricks for cheap sentiment. It is a deeper phenomenon, shared emotional significance. A moment resonates when every person at the table feels in some way that what just happened matters, not necessarily the same way or even necessarily with the same emotions, and definitely not for the same reasons, but with similar gravity and in a cohesive, resonant direction. What I'm talking about here, and this is what I wrote about, and this is what pertains to this particular tip, is that you can have this affect your different players differently. You could have one player who maybe, you set it up so that it looks like they have a big advantage. The enemy is also trying to bribe them, and the enemy is trying to be their friend. So in a sense, they might feel very powerful and above the danger of the situation, while one of the other player characters, maybe their family has been very deliberately threatened. So that makes it feel more dangerous. And then you can cycle those sort of like power struggle dynamics throughout the group in different situations, have different players sort of have different standing points in the situation, and this can actually lead to some really interesting interplayer role play. But once again, it's really about challenging that trust and making it feel very fragile. And this is going to take us to point number 5: delay resolution, raise stakes. This is another way to build suspense. Don't let the players answer the riddle too soon, or rather I should say, don't give them all the clues too soon. You can't really control how fast they solve it, but you can control how quickly you give information. And the idea behind this is to delay the payoff. You want to let players maybe chase shadows a little bit, maybe let them get a little misled, let them get a little bit lost as they try to solve that problem or chase that enemy or figure out a solution to this disaster that's imminent. Each hint solved leads to another question. Each clue turned over reveals another layer to the complex situation. And then this builds anticipation. So in a way, you let them discover a thing. It leads to another mystery, deeper mystery, right? So they go further down the rabbit hole. I really like this because I really do think of Alice in Wonderland. It's like every situation you put in front of them, you can make like, a rabbit hole of sort of chaos and mystery and magic. And there's an element of like, players begin down this road thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy fix, but then there's always something deeper. There's always this weird secret or this strange conspiracy, or a monster has a different ability than they thought and they find evidence of it, or whatever it is, right? But the idea is taking them further down the rabbit hole delays resolution, and it also raises the stakes. So in a way, they're creating their own suspense by just chasing whatever it is they're chasing in this plot arc, and you keep taking them deeper into the story. But when they do eventually win or succeed, it's going to feel that much better. And so suspense, in a way, is sort of like, you dangle the cookie in front of them until they get really hungry. And then when they finally get the cookie, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best cookie I've ever had. So it's a trick. It is a technique that, if you can kind of learn how to build that into your arcs, can really help to increase suspense, but also make suspense pay off in the long run when your players do succeed. So there you have it. Suspense isn't drama that you force. Remember that. It's tension that you coax from player situations and things going on. And when you build the right suspense, what's going to happen is players are going to feel a sort of tension that's going to really cause them to stay engaged and care more about the story. So use these tips to increase suspense in your games, and I hope they work really well for you. Drop a comment. Let me know what you do to increase suspense in your games. I'm the GM Philosopher. Empowering game masters to run better games is the goal of this channel, so smash the subscribe button and come back and watch more of our videos. I'll see you awesome people on the next one.